Kubor ka Batisi TV. Lawan rasipi da ka umsingam beats aqua na molai moro hakajingdap sunsnem jongka. Rengkat ka 3 Olives Restaurant M Crown Hotel Kendailat Shillong bat ka Orange Nissan Loan So Po Shillong. One bantiet ya ka kali Datsun Ready Go bathamai ka bas kem bat bidor.
Kedorbar Sunrai jong yeng dorbar thau an ke jilla hakakan arterik unai wing arajar arpo kala ajing menjur ya ke Meghalaya Right to Public Services Bill arajar arpo ya ke the Meghalaya Mineral Cess Amendment Bill arajar arpo but kuntubru ya ke the Saint Saviour's University Shillong Bill arajar arpo yakini ki bill menjur dak yeng dorbar thau an jong ke jilla hakas ngikut jong ke dorbar Sunrai hakaba shwab menjur yakini ki bill Kaladon ka jingye thir bat ka jingye tai ka basani bha da ka jingye shimbenta jongki MLA kalyang sanshar bat kalyang persha.
Sri James K. Sangma, Minister in charge ERTS, to move that the Meghalaya settlement of areas under the State Taxation Act, Bill 2020, be taken into consideration. Minister in charge, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Meghalaya settlement of arrears under the State Taxation Act, Bill 2020, be taken into consideration.
Motion moved. Now I would like to inform the House that I have received a notice of amendment to the bill tabled by Sri P.T. Saukume, MLA. Sri P.T. Saukume may move, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move the amendment of Meghalaya settlement area under the State Taxation Act, Bill 2020.
Motion moved. Now you may initiate discussion, please.
So there's a regarding with this Meghalaya settlement area under the State Taxation Act, Bill 2020. So there's one amendment I would like to make to insert in the original bill which the taxation, Minister of Taxation and the Department have already prepared. That is the name of the defaulter, name and numbers of the defaulter that because I found it mentioned here. That's why my intention of bringing this that it will be clear for the members of the House and clear for the people in the state and also for those who are doing a business that it will look proper. That main important that regarding with the defaulters, we understand, sir, what the defaulter, because now after they have taken the money for, I must say, the parole, lack of parole have been taken. Now they have not come forward and paying them for the paying which have already been need to pay. That's why the government have come with this proposal of how to waive of this by from the side of the defaulter. They can pay up to 30%, no? Rupees 70%. 70 from the side of defaulter and 30 from the side of those defaulter. So according to the statement and object of one reason, the department have already prepared. There are proceeding laws which exited, which introduction of the Meghalaya Goods and Services Tax Act 2017. So I will only one portion, because due for years but have remained unrecoverable due to the burden of such due. This bill provided for the applicant an opportunity of remission on due on account of tax, interest, a surcharge and penalty on condition of payment of 70% of total outstanding due with a stipulated time period and for the other matter connected with or incidental thereto. So my point is here, sir, I would like to get the information from the minister that how many defaulter we have all over the state. And if we can go to, if we have the number of the total number, and if it's possible, if we go by the district wise. And second to that, since when these defaulter they are due, that they have to pay the due to the bank or to the government, but till now they have not been paid. Number three, sir, is there any letter of request to the government that because of certain difficulties, that the problem they are facing because the business is not running properly because of many reasons, that they request the government to waive off regarding with the due which are paid. So I feel that the government it is make it clear regarding with all this point, so that we will clear. I understand that a crore of money that the government have to involve, and last, then if the government waive of this loan or the money to the defaulter, how much it will affect about the state exchequer. So this is the point I want to get information, sir.
Minister, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir. At the very outset, sir, I would like to thank the Honourable Member from Maulai for having brought about this amendment to the Meghalaya Settlement of Arrears Bill 2020, sir. Sir, I have gone through the amendment proposed by the Honourable Member from Maulai, and I have also gone through the definition of tax defaulter in the bill, sir. The Honourable Member has proposed the following amendments to the definition. Under tax defaulter, the number of defaulters as per the records of the department is to be included. Sir, for ready reference, the definition of tax defaulter contained in definition in section 2Q is quoted herein under, sir. And 2Q, sir, mentions in quotes, sir, I quote, tax defaulter means a registered dealer who has been assessed to tax and has been issued notices of demand on or before the 31st of March 2020, but has failed to pay the outstanding dues of tax, interest, surcharge or penalty. And, unquote, sir. After consideration of the proposed amendment to the definition of tax defaulter, I am of the considered opinion that the amendment proposed is not advisable, sir, for the following reasons. The definition of tax defaulter in the bill is definite, clear, categorical, and unambiguous, sir. The amendment will bring ambiguity in the definition. As per the definition in the bill, it will apply to A, a registered dealer, B, assessment which has already been done in the case of registered dealer, and C, notice of demand has been already issued before the 31st of March 2020, sir. Therefore, sir, to add or replace the existing definition with proposed definition of tax defaulter by the Honourable Member will not lead to making the Act more effective in achieving its intended objective, and it is neither legally sound nor is in accordance with the principles of legislative drafting, sir. The idea of the amnesty scheme in any tax regime is to confine the amnesty to defaulters who have defaulted in payment of tax dues in the past, and not to extend the same to defaulters of current financial year or for the future, for that matter, sir. If the definition of tax defaulter is loosely worded as proposed, so it will make the definition vague and an unending one. If the proposed amendment is incorporated, a taxpayer that has been included in the list of defaulters will also become a defaulter if he has not paid the dues of the current period, and will by default become eligible benefits of the arrears settlement scheme. Therefore, sir, the amendment proposed will create complete chaos in tax compliances and recoveries. This will adversely impact current tax rate and earnings of the government for the current financial year, and it will be against the law which is in force for payment of such current dues. Sir, if the proposed amendment is incorporated, the defaulters who are denied tax amnesty for the dues in the current financial year or during the validity of the period of the Act are also likely to question the government and refuse payment of current tax liability unless 30% remission of the tax is allowed to them as per the provision of the Act. The registered dealers would also likely go to court and claim that they have defaulted in payment of tax during the current financial year, and therefore they are defaulters as per the definition proposed by the Honourable Member, and they are entitled to pay the tax as per the rate prescribed in the amnesty scheme, sir. So based on the reasons cited above, I am of the considered opinion, sir, that if the proposed amendment is carried out, it would defeat the objective of the Act to recover long pending dues from tax defaulters in the past, that is up to 31st March 2020, as the Act is not meant to be extended to current defaulters who are to be proceeded in accordance with law, which is applicable to them presently. Sir, I am also of the opinion that there is no sound rationale or object of the proposed amendment to the definition of tax defaulter. Moreover, sir, all those who have received notice before 31st of March 2020 are tax defaulters in the record of the department. The record in the case is demand notice by the department prior to 31st of March 2020. So there is also no way that the department can determine how many of the tax defaulters identified will avail the tax amnesty scheme. The present definition gives definitive, clear meaning to the tax defaulter. So there is thus no need to add the words as proposed by the Honourable Member. So in view of the above, I am, sir, of the considered opinion that the Honourable Member should understand the difficulties and dangers fraught in amending the definition of tax defaulter as proposed by him. And sir, before I request him to withdraw the amendment, I would like to inform him, sir, that I have the information that he has sought district-wise, sir, and I will provide that to him. And so with this, sir, I would like to request him to kindly withdraw his proposed amendment.
Sir, so there's one more clarification, because it's important if you read nicely, carefully, go in deep, or regarding with the statement of object and reason. I fail to understand there is no legal opinion, or me from the law department that have reviewed that that the department can go ahead regarding with this settlement, sir. The view of from the law department, I mean, important they should have been reflect here, so that it will not be a problem, a legal option in the future for department, sir.
Sir, I assure the Honourable Member that all due diligence and vetting from the law department, from the AG, that has been done, sir.
Okay, so with this submission by the Honourable Minister, I withdraw the amendment, sir.
Okay. So the question is that the mover has leave of the House to withdraw his amendment. Those who are in favor say aye. Those who are against say no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is withdrawn with the leave of the House. Now I will put the question before the House. The question is that the bill be taken into consideration. Those who are in favor say aye. Those who are against say no. The ayes have it, and the motion for consideration is adopted. Now we come to item number 9. Sri James K. Sama, Minister in charge ERTS, to move the Mekalia Settlement of Areas under the State Taxation Act Bill 2020 be passed. Minister in charge, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Meghalaya Settlement of Arrears under the State Taxation Acts Bill 2020 be passed.
Motion moved. Now let me put the question before the House. The question is that the Mekalia Settlement of Areas under the State Taxation Acts Bill 2020 be passed. Those who are in favor say aye. Those who are against say no. The ayes have it, and the Mekalia Settlement of Areas under the State Taxation Act Bill 2020 is passed. Now we come to item number 10. Sri Conrad K. Sama, Chief Minister in charge Mining and Geology, to move that Mekalia Mineral Cess Amendment Bill 2020 be taken into consideration. Chief Minister, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Meghalaya Minerals Cess Amendment Bill 2020 be taken into consideration.
Motion moved. Now I would like to inform the House that I have received a notice of 2 amendments to the bill tabled by Sri P.T. Saukume, MLA, and Dr. M. Amperin Lindo, MLA. Sri P.T. Saukume may first move his amendment, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, there's only two clarifications regarding with this cess. So I beg to move amendment at the purpose of Meghalaya Minerals Cess Amendment Bill 2020.
Motion moved. Now you may initiate discussion.
Sir, the proposed amendment in section 4, the cess rate levied for coal is to be included. And number 2, building stone and boulders to be reduced from rupees 25 per cubic meter to rupees 5 cubic meter, sir. There are only 2 points I would like to urge the Honorable Chief Minister. It is here because Section 4 it says that that amendment, that building stone and boulders rupees 25 per cubic meter. So now that the price of the building stone and boulders have been increased to 25 cubic meter, but sir, we understand that this building stone and boulders, I feel that it will affect the general public as a whole, because many people use for the construction of a house and other purpose. So because of that reason, I have urged the Honorable Chief Minister that if we from 25 already proposed amendment can be reduced to rupees 5 per cubic meter. The second amendment, sir, that the first one that is regarding with coal. So if you go for the amendment of the, if we go to original act, in original act is already mentioned here that the coal per metric ton, it costs only 10 rupees. So that's why, sir, I would like to urge the Honorable Chief Minister, to again, instead of raising the price of the boulder stone and of the boulder stone, I urge him to increase the price of coal, so that it will not affect to the people. And as for the coal, sir, now understand it will raise the revenue of the state. Intention of the government is the intention of the government here. It is a good intention, because the revenue or the cess collected from this will go for the improvement of public health and also for drinking water supply. But my request to Honorable Chief Minister, if he can increase the cess of coal, that reduce the cost of the building stone and boulders, will be helpful for the regional public at large, sir.
Chief Minister, please.
Sir, I would, at the very outset, thank the Honourable Member for this amendment, which is allowing me to clarify on certain very important points. Sir, I will not take much time. There's a whole reply, but I think I'll just go specifically to the points that he had mentioned. So number one, the cess levied on coal, as he had mentioned that it's 10 rupees. So the revised rate is at 300 rupees per metric ton, sir. So it has already been revised, and therefore it's, I think, the highest among all the minerals. So the cess on coal as of today is 300 rupees per metric ton. Number two, so the building stone and boulders to be reduced, as he had mentioned out here. Sir, it's a normal practice for us to calculate the cess. We normally keep the cess amount at a 25% to 30% of the royalty amount that is there. So if that were to be taken into consideration, the actual cess for boulders would come up to about 60 rupees, 70 rupees. So that's why, keeping in mind the fact that what Honourable Member has mentioned, that it will affect the general people, we have reduced it by another half and brought it down to just 25 rupees per cubic meter. So let me also go into the background of why we're doing this. Currently, sir, keeping in view of the current cess that we are collecting, we touch anything between 60 crores to 70 crores as of now. And with this introduction of cess on these 14 new items, we should be touching around 120, 130 crores. So we will add another 50 crores, roughly approximate, we don't know yet. But as we move along, we are estimating that it will add another 50 crores. So let me also tell you the mind behind why we're doing this. If you recall, I had mentioned that from the education department, we have decided to renovate the primary schools, sir. And this cess being collected is one of the main purposes is the primary education. So therefore, this cess that is going to be collected from these minerals, majority of that will be invested in primary education. And therefore, the 200 schools that we are going to repair is going to be with this money. And for that matter of fact, we have changed the rules in the utilization of saying that where it's said not more than a certain percentage for a certain work, which is mining development work, we have changed it to say not less than 25% for primary education. So we will touch maybe 50%, maybe even 75%, 80%. So I just wanted to give a view to everybody that there is a specific purpose for doing this. That is the only way the government can ensure that we earn revenue to achieve the goals that we have in mind. So therefore, this will be used to a large extent for the goal of ensuring that our LP schools and our upper primary schools infrastructure improves, sir. So therefore, yes, there will be some burden on everybody, but it's not for us, it is for our younger generation, for the children, to improve their overall infrastructure in the schools. Thank you, sir. With this clarification, sir, I would request Honorable Member if he would withdraw his
Mr. Speaker, sir. So according to what Honorable Chief Minister given his reply regarding the rebase of coal, so because here in Meghalaya Mineral Cess Amendment Bill 2020, rebase pay of coal is not mentioned. That's why I refer to the original act, because in original act imposition of cess that is it's only mentioned here because only coal rupees 10 per kilometer. Then I would like to get assurance from the Honorable Chief Minister. If you can insert here also regarding with coal, will be much better in the present Amendment Bill of 2020, that is Meghalaya Mineral Cess, the cess of coal have been revised to 200 per cubic meter, sir.
So it has already been done, sir. So it's already done, sir.
So since the Honorable Chief Minister have already been clarified each and every point in every section, I withdraw my amendment, sir.
Thank you. This question is that the mover has leave of the House to withdraw his amendment. Those who are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against say no. The ayes have it, the ayes have it. And the amendment is withdrawn with the leave of the House. Now I will put the question before the House. The question is that the bill be taken into consideration. Those
proposed amendment, sir, but I have not been permitted to speak.
In fact, I have given some signal. I thought you will not speak.
No, sir.
I'm sorry. But the mover has already withdrawn.
May I at least be permitted to move, because there are some arguments which are out of the argument of my colleague in the opposition.
But I've already...
One person alone cannot move, sir. Here you have said two.
Yeah.
So if you could clarify to me why I have been denied an opportunity to move, I will accept.
No, you have not been denied at all. In fact, you have
Beg
been
your
given
pardon,
free.
sir?
You have not been denied at all.
Then may
I thought
then move?
you're not moving, so that's why I thought you only process is moving.
But if you...
But I have taken the sense of the House, so...
So before even doing that, sir, I was not approached. So would you like me therefore not to move? Because I thought that I had some important inputs to suggest to the government. So kindly review, and if you permit, I will go ahead. Otherwise, you have obviously taken the vote, but then...
Sir, I can suggest that the Honourable Member can always bring the suggestions to me. And I'll be happy to look into those suggestions also, sir. And whatever clarifications she needs, she can meet me in my office and I can give those clarifications, if that's okay, sir.
So, but this is an act, sir. Now, an act when passed, gets passed. So if you've promised to consider these amendments in the future sessions before 2023, then it's fine.
So you have already given your ruling, sir.
already-
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think we should go ahead, sir.
Unfortunately, I was denied, but you have to take your ruling, sir. You are the custodian of this house, and I leave it to your wisdom.
Hello? Okay, since you have requested, I think being a lady, so I think I should not deny. That's what we call it, woman empowerment. So you may rise now.
The other, the male
Mr. Speaker, sir, I think I think because she already withdrawn, but I don't know when. But when you mentioned, I thought it's jointly moved. Was it jointly moved?
No.
Was it
No,
jointly
sir.
moved, sir?
No, sir. Separately moved.
Or separate?
Yes, sir.
Or not jointly moved?
No,
And
sir.
different
Agendas.
clause.
I will,
Different agendas,
Okay, sir.
sections.
I thought.
Okay. So you may kindly move.
All right. Honorable Speaker, sir, I would also like to propose an amendment to the Meghalaya Mineral Cess Amendment Bill 2020, sir. He has to give me permission to move. May I?
Yeah, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir. Sorry for that confusion created. However, sir, I have heard in a nutshell some of the submissions submitted by the Honorable Chief Minister, who is the Mining and Geology Minister. I agree 100% with him that we need to look at the kind of cess collection on these erstwhile minerals for cess collection, under the list for cess collection. I do agree that we should now include into the ambit of cess collection the 11 new proposed minerals by the government. However, sir, we should keep in mind the discussions we had in the Star Question 82 that was discussed today, and you have heard from the honorable members that it is becoming difficult because the amounts collected from the cess thus far ultimately allows the government to send the cess funds to the different districts. My only contention here, sir, is that we have now added, the government has added, against the original Meghalaya Mineral Cess Act of 1988, they've added 3 more important segments. One is the improvement of public health, one is drinking water supply, one is physical infrastructure development. So I do not want to say that these are not important sectors in the entire arena of development intervention. However, my only fear, sir, is that if we add more to Section 4, more items to Section 4, we would compromise on the entire, the entire gamut of environment assessment impacts. We have seen, sir, that development of mining areas is a very important component of the entire cess as was engineered in the year 1988. So my request to the government is do not burden further this particular cess, because you've just yourself said that probably just 2 sections, which is redevelopment of the mining areas and education, would already take a sizable amount of attention of this fund, and further diluting it may again create problems. Sir, I also want to remind the government of the day that as per the different district task force that have submitted their environment impact assessments, we have seen that there are many areas of mining activities which have been left unattended to, and we have seen the entire coming in of the NGT to actually monitor these weaknesses that have occurred over cumulative years of unattending the development of mining areas. My request is do not edit or do not remove, provided that not more than 20% of the proceedings shall be at any time utilized for the purpose referred to in clause B. Because if we are going to remove that, then probably we will have a lot of environmental organization again flagging the government in years to come. We have to make sure that all of these mining areas, who at the same time give ample opportunity for employment generation, for livelihood of the people of Meghalaya, we should focus on redevelopment plans for mining areas. I therefore request that the proposed edits of the proposed amendment that I bring before this House may be considered, sir. With these few words, I resume my seat.
Chief Minister, please.
Yeah. Sir, once again, I would like to thank the Honourable Member for bringing this amendment so that I can make clarifications to the concerns that she has. So first of all, I just would like to clarify, there was a certain confusion in the beginning which she mentioned, that the cess is not distributed in the districts. That is a DMF fund. So yeah, so the district mining fund is different from the cess. Cess goes directly to the treasury and is used for a specific purpose, and the DMF fund is the one that you mentioned, which comes from the district and goes back to the district. So number one is that. So number two is that the important point that was mentioned by the Honourable Member was the fact that the fund should be used for anyway, mining development, the development of mining areas, sir. So the reason why we have, number one, increased the areas by which we can spend the cess, which is primary education and development of mining areas, was already there. And as rightly mentioned by Honourable Member, we are adding physical, public health, drinking water and physical infrastructure. So this is being done, of course, with the objective of making things more flexible when it comes to using the funds. And public health and drinking water is nowadays a very important priority for us. And I think as a definition also, cess can be used for specific purposes. So these purposes are being only expanded. But of course, the government can take the decision in the future whether they will focus on one particular area or they will focus on all the areas. That can be taken on the decision of the respective government. So therefore, in this case, like for example, this year we have clearly decided that the maximum amount will go for primary education, sir. And that is the reason also why we have increased the number of minerals on which the cess can be collected. Sir, why the development of mining areas, we have changed the nomenclature and said that that should be removed totally, is, sir, the development of mining areas is also covered under three other funds that we collect. The DMF itself can be used for areas for development of mining area fund. We receive approximately 50 crores a year from that. Then we have the fund of the Meghalaya Minor Mineral Reclamation Fund. This again is used for the development of mining areas, again about approximately 85 crores. And the third, which is the Meghalaya Environment Protection Restoration Fund, which is a 450 crore fund which we have, is specifically for development of mining areas. So keeping in mind that there are other funds which are there amounting to close to 600 crores for the development of mining areas, we felt that we could remove this clause and add the clause where it says that we will increase we will use the word not less than 25% for primary education, because we want to specifically route it towards primary education because of the fact that we need the money in primary education. So that is the logic behind doing this. There are funds for the development of mining areas through the DMF, through the MMMRF and the MEPRF. And as I said, it is being done, and the 3 areas being included is to give the flexibility to the government to ensure that they can choose the areas which are all very important areas on the areas which they would like to focus on. And for this particular financial year, we'll be focusing on primary education, sir. With that, sir, I request the Honourable Member to kindly withdraw her amendment.
Honourable Speaker, sir, I want to thank the Honourable Chief Minister for putting in an effort to make me understand the gamut of the cess. I would like, therefore, for the Honourable Chief Minister, therefore, sir, through you, to kindly lay on the table of the House the kind of engagement of past projects under the different heads of schemes which you yourself have indicated that were directed towards the reclamation, the rehabilitation, and the restoration of all mining areas in the state. If that could be assured to me, then I can definitely consider withdrawing my motion, sir.
To provide that information to the Honourable Member, sir.
So having given that, that assurance, I therefore withdraw my motion, Speaker, sir.
Thank you. You happy now?
Sorry, sir?
Have you not been denied? Again, let the question again is that the mover has leave to the House to withdraw her amendment. Those who are in favor say aye. Those who are against say no. The ayes have it, the ayes have it, and the amendment is withdrawn with the leave of the House. Now I'll put the question before the House. The question is that the bill be taken into consideration. Those who are in the favor say aye. Those who are against say no. The ayes have it, the ayes have it, and the motion for consideration is adopted. Now we come to item number 11. Sri Conrad K. Sama, Chief Minister in charge mining and geology, to move that Meghalaya Mineral Cess Amendment Bill 2020 be passed. Chief Minister in charge, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Meghalaya Mineral Cess Amendment Bill 2020 be passed.
Motion moved. Now let me put a question before the House. The question is that Meghalaya Mineral Cess Amendment Bill 2020 be passed. Those who are in favor say aye. Those who are against say no. The ayes have it, the ayes have it, and the Meghalaya Mineral Cess Amendment Bill 2020 is passed. Now we come to item number 12. Shri Bantidor Lindo, Minister in charge Agriculture and Family Welfare, to move that the Farmers Empowerment Commission Amendment Bill 2020 be taken into consideration. The Minister is not there, maybe Chief Minister? Please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Meghalaya Farmers Empowerment Commission Amendment Bill 2020, I beg to move that the Meghalaya, sorry sir, I just got the numbers wrong. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Meghalaya Farmers Empowerment Commission Amendment Bill 2020 be taken into consideration.
Now we come to item number 13. Again, Sri Bantidor Lindo, Minister in charge Agriculture and Family Welfare, to move that the Farmers Empowerment Commission Amendment Bill 2020 be passed. Chief Minister in charge, please.
So just one small correction, so it's agriculture and farmers welfare, sir, but put family welfare. Sir, I beg to move that the Meghalaya Farmers Empowerment Commission Amendment Bill 2020 be passed.
Motion moved. Now let me put the question before the House. The question is that the Meghalaya Farmers Empowerment Commission Amendment Bill 2020 be passed. Those who are in favor say aye. Aye. Those who are against say no. The ayes have it, the ayes have it, and the Meghalaya Farmers Empowerment Commission Amendment Bill 2020 is passed. Now we come to item number 14. Shri Conrad K. Sama, Chief Minister in charge personnel, to move that Meghalaya Right to Public Services Bill 2020 be taken into consideration. Chief Minister, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Meghalaya Right to Public Services Bill 2020 be taken into consideration.
Motion moved. Now I would like to inform the House that I have received a notice of amendment to the bill tabled by Sri P.T. Saukume, Sri Meral Bonds AM, MLA, and Sri George B. Lindo, MLA. Sri P.T. Saukume may move, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, before I move, I would like to get a clarification. Like it shouldn't have happened like with Dr. Amparin, because we have moved three of us in different his own section. Sir.
Yes. You mean?
Because three of us we have moved.
Yeah.
Myself and then Shri Meral Bonds AM and Shri George B. Lindo.
Yeah, I'll give a chance to all three of you. Yes.
All of them will get a point. So I thought that since the amendment is almost the same from three of us, then from my side I decide not to move, sir.
Not to move?
Not myself. For myself.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So I'll call this Meral Bonds AM, please.
Sir, I beg to move an amendment to the proposed Meghalaya Right to Public Service Bill 2020.
Motion moved. Now you may initiate discussion, please.
Thank you, sir, for allowing to move an amendment to this proposed bill, Meghalaya Right to Public Service Bill 2020. So the section in which I intend to put an amendment is number one is section 6(1), where the deletion of the words on payment of such fees as may be prescribed and include free of cost after the word appellate authority. And number two is that at section 8(1), after the words lump sum penalty, to include the words including necessary disciplinary action as may be evaluated and recommended by the appellate authority. Sir, I would like to thank the government for bringing this very beautiful bill, the Meghalaya Right to Public Service Bill. Since it is a need of an hour, we have seen in different sections, in different government offices, they delayed in giving service to the public. So I would like to convey to the government for bringing this beautiful bill. I have gone through it. It is beautifully drafted. We have experience, especially with day-to-day life, going to government office, where there are certain delays in disposing duties from government official. For example, for acquiring driving license in DTO office, people or the public has to move from pillar to post. When to get a driving license, when to get a registration for the new vehicle, and so on. Or anybody has to go through the agent or the so-called dalal. This has happened in all DTO office all over the state. And anybody, someone who's buying a new car, is not getting RC after 3 months. Even his temporary RC also invalid. This is happening. They are running from pillar to post. So there's so many services that has been delayed. At the same time, anybody who has to acquire an ST certificate from Deputy Commissioner Office, they have been experiencing the same issue. Bus fare, sumo fare, they have to pay running from pillar to post from time to time. Many difficulties. At the same time, so many issues while getting the duplicate copy of mark sheet, in embos or land registration, these are issues that the public at large in the state are facing difficulty. So I'm thankful to the government that they has brought out this beautiful bill to check and balance so that the service has to be given to the public. And I would like to request to make an amendment so that our people, they won't suffer, that in this section 6.1, as I have been mentioned, that it has been said that on the payment of such fees as may be prescribed. My humble request is that to delete that word and insert after the appellate authority to insert free of cost. And number 2, sir, as I have said in the beginning, that in section 8.1, the State Public Service Delivery Commission may impose a lump sum penalty, including, I want to add, including necessary disciplinary action as may be evaluated and recommended by the appellate authority against the designated officer and so on. Because by just impose a fine of 5,000 to 10,000, anybody can pay. But this is happening from time to time. The system in our offices is happened like that. That the delay in disposing the duties.
Honourable Member, can you please take a seat? Just take a seat, please. Now it's already 2, and I will extend the House till all business listed today is being disposed of. You may continue, please.
So, sir, with this submission, I would like to urge the Honourable Chief Minister to please consider this amendment for the benefit for the people of our state. Thank you so much.
Honourable Speaker, sir, I also stand to support the motion of amendment to the proposed Meghalaya Right to Public Services Bill 2020 as moved by the Honourable Member from Nongpo, Shri Mirabal Siem. Sir, I also join hands with the Honourable Mover to extend my appreciation to the government to bring about this important bill to improve the delivery services, the governance, and also to ensure that there is a legal entitlement to the citizens of the state in obtaining the required services within a time frame that will be specified based on the services that will be under the various services that the government will notify as per the rules that will be laid. So, I have moved 2 changes. One, section 8.1, the words 5,000 may be replaced with the words 10,000, and the words 20,000 be replaced with the word 50,000. And section 9.3, the words 2 be replaced by 4, and the words a cabinet minister be replaced by Leader of Opposition, Chief Justice of Meghalaya, and Lok Ayukt Meghalaya. So, these 2 proposals have come after some consultations with civil society members. These civil society members have also expressed their grievances that perhaps the government had not given much space for public participation in the drafting of the bill as per the mandatory 30 days that they have to lay down, they have to give to the people to submit their proposals and suggestions. So this may require some kind of exercise that have to be done, which the consultative exercise is important, sir, as part of government, as part of governance, to improve the delivery services and especially in the drafting of the bills that are placed before this August House. So the services that have to be brought under the bill have not been defined in the principal bill, sir. The government proposes to notify these services in the rules, which in subsection 2, section 3 of the Meghalaya Right to Public Services Bill 2020, the list of services to be included in the notification. So this, I think, sir, will be diluting the very objective of placing the bill before this August House. Therefore, if the government can bring the services within the Principal Act, within the principal bill, I correct myself, then perhaps this will give further impetus and weightage to the objective of this bill, sir. That's number one, sir. Number two, increasing the penalty would be a deterrent and also give much weightage again to the bill, because that will alert the officers concerned, the various authorities that have been put in place, so that they will be put in a position that they cannot delay any further nor give unnecessary excuses, because 5,000, as the member had said, is too small an amount, but then 10,000 and 50,000 will perhaps put in that sense of urgency, put in that sense of importance to the demands of the people based on the services that will be notified. So, Section 9.3, where the bill proposes that the selection of the chairman or chairperson of the commission would be done by the Honorable CM and a cabinet minister of his choice. So, since there is no such committee also being identified or maybe notified in the proposed, in the draft bill, if there is no such committee and if the selection process is left only to 2 people from the executive, I think, sir, there is much to ask, because in democracy, sir, I think everybody has to be given a stake, especially if you go by the Security Service Commission and the other commissions. Several members have been included from civil society as well as from the legislature. Therefore, sir, I would propose that the words Cabinet Minister be replaced by Leader of Opposition, the Chief Justice of Meghalaya, and also the Lok Ayukt. So this group, which represents all the important stakeholders and pillars of democracy, they will be included and it will add weightage. It will add weightage to this particular objective of putting the bill before the House for passing today, sir. So these are a few suggestions, sir, which I would request the government to consider, and perhaps before we pass, these amendments be included in the bill, sir. Thank you, sir.
Honourable Chief Minister will reply. Yes. Sir, at the very outset, I would like to thank the Honourable Member, Shri Merrilbon, CM, and Honourable Member Shri George Lingdo for bringing this amendment motion, and also to Mr. P.T. Sokme, who did not move, but he also had concerns about this particular bill. But I think because of paucity of time, he has decided not to move. But nonetheless, I thank him also for bringing these important points. As again I mentioned, it gives an opportunity for us to clarify a number of issues. So I'll try to go one by one in trying to clarify some of the concerns that the honourable members have had. So I think first thing to note, of course, is the fact that the Meghalaya Right to Public Services Bill 2020 should have come a long time back, sir. It's something that has been pending, I should say, and something that the people of the state deserve. Because if everybody is accountable, then I think the government as a whole also, in terms of giving its services, the officials concerned also should be accountable to the people of the state. I always stress on this fact, and this is what has driven me at least to ensure that we come up with this particular bill, is that whether it's the honourable MLAs, whether it's the honourable ministers, or whether it's the officers, we are all here to serve the people of the state. And therefore, this primary goal and objective should always be kept in front of us. And this particular act will ensure that it reinforces the entire purpose of each and every person sitting in this room is here for, which is to ensure that we provide service to the people. And that is what the driving force behind this particular bill. Having said that, sir, coming to the different concerns that the honourable members have had. So the reason why we have put in a fee in this particular aspect is that we would like to avoid people coming in and giving frivolous complaints. And I think that would be something that would overburden the system. And that is the real purpose of doing this.
And it will be, of course, a fees which will be very, very minimal. Like, for example, in the RTI Act, it is rupees 10. So it's not really a large amount, but it ensures that people just don't come in and give frivolous complaints. So we will ensure that the fees that is there is kept at a minimum amount, but if it is free, then as I said, there'll be so many applications which could be applications which are frivolous, which would just end up burdening the system and actually lead to delay in giving justice to others who could be genuine cases, sir. Number two is regarding the question of the disciplinary action that was mentioned. Sir, the 5,000 penalty imposed is in itself a very big, I guess, penalty. If you look at a lot of the other states in the country, the amount ranges anything from 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So therefore, Meghalaya may be one of the higher ones. Even in the northeast, we are number one. We are the second state to have adopted this particular act, or the bill. And say a state like Assam is now charging 2,000 rupees. So we will be charging, means penalizing at 2,000 rupees, but we are penalizing at 5,000 rupees. So already it is quite high. It will be deducted straight from the salary. And I think we need to realize that this is just going to be a real point where we are going to put the pressure on the officials out here. It's not meant to scare people as such, but the purpose is to really ensure that the officials realize that they are accountable and they need to be penalized. So I think disciplinary action is not necessary at this point in time, and we can start off with the penalty, which is what most of the other states are doing, sir. So number three, the point where again the honourable member had said that we could increase the amount from 5,000 to 10,000 for which is up to 5,000, and increase it to up to 10,000, and increase the if the repeated situation is there, then we increase it from 20 to 40,000. Sir, again, as I said, I clarified that if we were to compare to most of the states in the country, the fees amount is at 2,000 rupees to 3,000 rupees. So we are already at a very high rate. And for a number of officers, 5,000 rupees also is a lot of money. So therefore, I think at this point in time, there is no need to change these figures. And 5,000 already is a very, very high figure that we have put in. Coming to the point of adding the different and making it part of the act, the different services that are there. Sir, we had in fact decided, and the initial discussion that took place, this is exactly what we had done. But then slowly we realized that there were about 65 services that were there, and we realized that there will be many more services that will come in. We also realized that we may need to decrease the number of days or increase the number of days in each of the services, though each of the officials and departments have already been consulted. But we strongly felt that if we put that within the primary act, then even to change one comma, as you're aware, sir, or even to change one dot, we'll have to come back to the assembly. So tomorrow we might need to add another service, which is very important to the people. We will need to come back to the assembly to include that one particular service. So the idea is to not burden the assembly and the legislature with that particular responsibility, and just to focus on the purpose of the act and the bill, and to in a way leave the aspect of how the services should be done, which should be added, not added, which could change very frequently, sir. And that's the reason why we then decided that we will not include it in the primary act, but it will come out in the form of rules and notifications, sir. The last point which was mentioned, which I think I've covered most except the last one, which is that we should include the other members in this particular selection committee. So this again is an aspect which is not required at this point, because the government is completely competent. These are services which are directly related with the government, the services that are provided by the government. So therefore it is very much within the executive role, and hence, keeping all that aspect in mind, the government is absolutely competent to do that, and that is why we don't feel the necessity to include or to expand the selection committee. And and we stick with the two members that have been mentioned out here, sir. So with these few points, sir, I hope I have clarified the concerns of the honourable members and would request them if they could withdraw their amendment.
Honourable
So maybe I know the mind of the movers.
Sir. Sir, I thank the Honourable Chief Minister for the reply and clarity on the submissions that have been made and the amendments that have been proposed. Sir, but then we still differ, sir. 2 points. One, the services. So basic principal services can definitely be part of the Act, sir, and the principal bill. And yes, if the timelines are to be changed, yes, the timelines can be put in the rules. So that maybe that flexibility can be provided, and that duration of amendments, if required, that can be done for the timelines. But, sir, the principal services should be put in the principal bill so that there will be a sense of we'll know that people are, that we really mean business with this bill, sir. So we'll really show the people that we mean business, and things need to be corrected. And if the government feels that there are some services that need to be immediately withdrawn or to be included, then, sir, we all know the legislative process. Government can always come with an ordinance, and it can be ratified in the Assembly as and when the House meets, sir. So, number 2, sir, the inclusion is not about of LO, Chief Justice and Lok Ayukt. It's not about questioning the competence of the government. Yes, government is very competent, sir. They have run the state so far. They are running the state now also. But it is the inclusivity, the inclusiveness of the bill. It would be in the beauty to bring public participation, especially the pillars of democracy. Since it is linked to public services, the judiciary should be part of it, the legislature should be part of it, and especially when it comes to anti-corruption and reining in the officers, so that all will be part of this entire process, sir. That's why, sir, we still beg to the government to kindly consider these proposals from our side. If not all, maybe at least the ones which are very, very pertinent to the principal bill and also to the spine of the entire bill that has been placed before us. Thank you, sir.
Speaker, sir, Mr. Speaker, sir, the 2 points mentioned by the honourable member, though of course he didn't move the amendment, he only participated after Mr. Merrill-Bourne had moved. But nonetheless, sir, that's fine. We are here to focus on the issue. Sir, I've got the list of the services out here, sir, and there are about 60 of them, 64 as of now, sir. And this will just keep changing. It'll keep growing every time, sir. And as I said, it will become quite tedious to every time come in and change this list, sir. Let me add both the 2 points which was mentioned in trying to explain in one go, sir. Now, honourable member mentioned about anti-corruption. The honourable member mentioned about judiciary. So none of those services are part of this list, and it will not be. It is part of the basic services that the government provides to the people. So therefore, the jurisdiction is very much within the executive and within what the government does. It's like providing, I'll just read out, sir, like a very, permission for tree felling under the Meghalaya Tree Felling Act. Issue of non-forest land certificate, grant of fire safety certificate, NOC for departments to commence construction activity, registration of cooperative societies, license to work as a factory, registration and grants of factory licenses. So all within very much the executive or the government's role, sir. It has not got any role to play beyond the government services. And hence, once this act is put into place, the government will be the competent authority to add or delete the services that are there. And number two, the other the question of expansion to include others is not really making sense as of now, sir, because of the fact that this is purely to do with the government services that are there, unlike what was mentioned by the honorable member, the judiciary services and anti-corruption. There are other agencies that look at that. This is purely to do with government service. So therefore, this is the reason why we have structured this in this way. And with this explanation, sir, I once again request the honorable members to withdraw their amendments.
Sir, still doubts. Because, sir, it is not about the services that are to be included in the bill, that we bring in the stakeholders, especially the other pillars of democracy. So it will add to the wisdom of the committee, because there will be, since there are several acts, several services under several acts that have to be included. So the inclusion of the pillars of democracy will add to the wisdom of the government, because we'll have important personalities to be included in it. Chief Justice, if there are some acts that are being challenged in the High Court, if there are some rulings in the Supreme Court, I think he'll be the best man, the best person to guide the government in that. Lok Ayukt, if there are some problems, if there are some pending complaints, the leader of opposition, so the legislature will be aware. So all these things are in order to much more beautify and strengthen the bills. So principal services can definitely be part of the principal bills, not entirely 60. If there are some principal services that can be selected out of the list of 60, why not, sir? If there'll be list 1 in the main bill and list 2 in the rules.
Sir, let me just clarify on two things. I think the honorable member has not understood the entire aspect. So the selection committee, or this committee we're talking about, is to select the chairman, not to go into the rules of what this commission will do. So therefore, even if a judiciary person comes into this, we will not be sitting in the meeting to discuss what services to be put in or not. We will just be discussing about who the chairman of the committee should be. That's the selection committee's job. So therefore, this purpose which he is intending will not be served by this selection committee. So the word is selection committee, and the members are just going to select the chairman, period. Number two, sir, if we were to put services in the Act and then again a list of services here, so there will be again 2 lists, which will be again very complicating matters. A lot of other states have done the similar format, where they have had the Act and then they have had a list of services as a notification or as a rule, and that is being done, as I said, to ensure that this particular list can be amended and changed and added and made better with more services, with better time in the due course. So that is the whole purpose, sir. So once again, sir, I think with these clarifications, I think honorable member will now understand the entire issues, and I request him once again, sir, to withdraw the amendment.
Sir, to clarify. So the issue comparing with RTI is different. RTI is want to seek information. This bill, it talks about the basic public service bill, which talk about the basic necessities, the basic issues which each and every individual we need. So it has to be not compared with RTI, so about the fees. So I would request that it will be free of cost. That is my sincere request. Sir, on that 8.1, number 2, I'm fully endorsed with you about the issue of penalty and to disciplinary action and all. I'm not blaming all officers like that. There are few who are. So we need to include it so that to bind them, so that they won't be doing all this is to make delay in delivering services to the people at large. So our sincere request is that it's not that from our opposition that we are putting this amendment that it will be rejected, but this is in the interest of the state, sir. If it is valid, so you please accept from your side this amendment made, and if not, otherwise, our conscience does not allow to withdraw. That is what I'm planning to say. That is my submission, sir.
Sir, number one, I'd like to mention that we're not comparing it to RTI, but we're just trying to give an example so that people can understand that we need to ensure that the system or this commission is not overburdened by frivolous complaints. So therefore, a minimum charge, as I said, I'm just comparing, it could be like the RTI where they charge 10 rupees, needs to be put in so that we can ensure that only the serious complaints come in, because if we have hundreds and hundreds of complaints which actually are frivolous, you will actually end up denying the right to a lot of other people. Then we may actually need to have a commission to look over this commission, so that they provide the certain services within a particular period of time. So it can't work that way, sir. So we need to ensure that there is some kind of a fees there, just to ensure that only the serious complainants come in. Number two, regarding the disciplinary actions, sir. In any case, sir, in general, if there are repeated offenses, not offenses, but repeated situations that happen, I think if there are like repeated failures by the officials, there are different areas in which disciplinary action does take place in case-to-case basis. So it need not come under this, because that will then generalize everything. Already we are having a very, very stiff penalty, which is much higher than compared to, almost double compared to many other states. So therefore, I think this is more than enough, sir. And I think in the interest of this entire bill and to show the entire state that we are really serious about it, I think it's important that we all come together and we pass this bill. And I think by the honorable members sticking to the amendment, looks like they don't want this bill to go through. So I think in the interest of the people and the services, I think we should all come together and pass this particular bill, sir. So once again, I request them to withdraw their amendment.
So may I know the mind of the
I would like to convey my sincere thanks to the Chief Minister for elaborately explain, and we do hope in future that when this bill will be enacted, it will really help the people, and any amendment to be made in future, we would work together. So with this submission, I withdraw this amendment.
Mr. George Lindo, you also stand.
Sir, the mover has already withdrawn, sir. So I also support him, sir.
The question is that the movers have leave of the House to withdraw his amendment. Those who are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. An amendment is withdrawn with the leave of the House. Now I will put the question before the House. The question is that the bill be taken into consideration. Those who are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. And the motion for consideration is adopted. Now we come to item number 15. Sri Conrad K. Sama, Chief Minister in charge personnel, to move that the Meghalaya Right to Public Services Bill 2020 be passed. Chief Minister, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Meghalaya Right to Public Services Bill 2020 be passed.
Motion moved. Now let me put the question before the House. The question is that the Meghalaya Right to Public Services Bill 2020 be passed. Those who are in favor say aye. Aye. Those who are against say no. The ayes have it, the ayes have it, and the Meghalaya Right to Public Services Bill 2020 is passed. Now we come to item number 16. Sri Lakshman Ramboy, Minister in charge Education, to move that the St. Xavier's University Shillong Bill 2020 be taken into consideration. Minister in charge, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the St. Xavier University Shillong Bill 2020 be taken into consideration.
Now we come to item number 17, Sri Lakshman Ramboy, in charge Education, to move that the St. Xavier's University Shillong Bill 2020 be passed. Minister in charge, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that St. Xavier University Shillong Bill 2020 be passed.
Motion moved. Now let me put the question before the House. The question is that the St. Xavier's University Shillong Bill 2020 be passed. Those who are in favor say aye. Aye. Those who are against say no. The ayes have it, the ayes have it. And the St. Xavier's University Shillong Bill 2020 is passed. Now we come to item number 18. Sri Preston Tensong, Deputy Chief Minister in charge Parliamentary Affairs, to move the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly Recruitment and Conditions of Service Rule 2020 be approved. Deputy Chief Minister, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly Recruitment and Conditions of Service Rule 2020 be approved.
Now let me put the question before the House. The question is that the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly Recruitment and Conditions of Service Rule 2020 be approved and passed. Those who are in favor say aye. Aye. Those who are against say no. The ayes have it, the ayes have it, and the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly Recruitment and Conditions Service Rule 2020 is approved and passed. Now we come to item number 19. Deputy Chief Minister, in charge Food and Civil Supplies, to lay the notification via number SUP 80/94/694 dated 16 March 2020. Deputy Chief Minister, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the notification via number SUP 80/94/694 dated 16 March 2020.